The second part or second technology is the, for example, the Wi-Fi. Look at here. This is the AP or access point. We can add it to our network. Let me to add it to our network, and now we have one access point. If you have devices, for example, some devices that they have the wireless card, they can wireless network interface card, they can connect to this AP. For example, if you are using the wireless tablet or some other devices, for example, the devices that they are working with the wireless, as you can see, they can connect to this access point with wireless signals. Okay, here we are using the Wi-Fi technology, but I'm not going to talk about the Wi-Fi in this video. We will learn about it. Here we have another part, the wired part, and I'm going to talk about only the wired, means the Ethernet. Here we don't have Ethernet. We are using the IEEE 802.11 or Wi-Fi, but here we are using the Ethernet. As you can see, both the physical and also the framing is different here, are different here. Why? Because we are using the media of the air, and also the framing are different, but here we are using the media as the cable, okay, and also the framing is the Ethernet framing. You will learn about the wireless in future videos. Now I'm going to talk about only about the wired part and also Ethernet. Let me say that in some cases, maybe you see in a small office, home office, some of these devices in combining in one device. For example, maybe you see a device in a small office, home office, that combine router and switch to each other. Let me to give you one example. Look at here. I'm going to give you one example about your DSL connection. You know that when we have a DSL connection, we have a device, okay, we call it, for example, DSL modem or DSL router. What is a DSL router or DSL modem? Let me to talk about that. You know that we need to connect the DSL router for connecting to the internet to the phone line. This is a phone line, okay. After that, we can connect the DSL router with a wired connection, for example, Ethernet cable, to our PCs, okay. And after that, we have the internet. Why? Because here we with phone line we are connecting to the ISP, internet service providers. Because of that, we have connectivity to internet. And also, you know that in DSL router we have some technologies. Because of that, we can use PC2 with wireless network interface card, and PC2 can connect to DSL router in wireless connection, okay. You know it. What is the DSL router? Let me to give you more information about the DSL router. Look at here. In DSL router we have some components. The first component is a router, okay. We have a router. This router connect to the phone line, as I mentioned before. This is a router connected to the phone line. And after that, this router, okay, inside of this box connect to a switch. For example, this is a switch, and this switch has some interfaces, some ports. Because of that, we can connect our PCs, or for example PC1 or some other PCs, maybe to 4 PCs to this switch. And also this switch, okay, connected to one AP here inside of the DSL router. In most cases we have one access point. Because of that, other PCs, for example PC2 in our example, can connect to the AP with the wireless for example connection. This means that here we have a box. Look at here. Let me to show you. It's important to understand the detail of the network devices. Look at here. Here we have one device. In this one device, actually we have three devices. The first is the for example is router, second is the switch, and then access point. Why we need to combine all of these devices in one device? Because this is a home device or SOHO device. in home or SOHO, maybe we don't have one experienced administrator, and we can't use for example, use the one administrator for configuring router, switch, AP, or some other things. Okay, because of that, we are buying one box from the market. After installing it, we can easily connect it to the phone line, and after that we will receive Ethernet. We will receive internet in the wired connection and also in the wireless connection. Because of that, in many cases, you can see in SOHO LANs, we are using devices that these devices combine multiple devices. For example, a router, switch, in some cases access points. Because of that, in SOHO, maybe you encounter with this different technology. And now you can better understand that what is the LAN of a small office, home office. In a LAN of a small office, home office, or SOHO, we have for example, a small number of the switches or routers, or for example access points, but we are using the Ethernet cables to connecting devices to each other, and because of that we are using the Ethernet again in the SOHO. Also, we are using the frames of the Ethernet. I will talk about the frames of the Ethernet, and we will learn about the Ethernet cables that we can use in the LAN, and also about the Ethernet frame that we are sending on the SOHO LAN. Okay, until now we learned and we reviewed about the SOHO LAN. In SOHO LAN we have switch, router, access point, but with for example a small number. And also let me to talk about a little about the typical enterprise LAN. You know that we have two type of LAN, SOHO LAN and enterprise LAN. I will give you a little more information about the enterprise LAN. This is an enterprise LAN. In this enterprise LAN, you can see that we have a building, for example, with multiple floors. In each floor, we have one organization of our company, for example, marketing and sales is working in this floor, finance and accounting in another floor, and engineering and production, for example, in another floor. In each floor we have a networks or multiple networks, and as you can see, for example, here we have switch, we have access points, PCs, printers, or some other devices, and after that they connected to, for example, a router of the floor, and finally all of them are connected to the firewall or the edge router to connecting to the internet. This is only one example. The detail is not important. Maybe in your company you have different type of devices or different type of connectivity to the internet, but I'm going to say that here we have multiple LANs or multiple networks, that in these networks again we are using the for example Ethernet cables and also Ethernet technology, Ethernet frames. Okay, enterprise networks have similar needs compared to a SOHO network, but on a much larger scale. In enterprise networks, in most cases, you can see, for example, multiple devices available in only one device, such as the things that you saw in the SOHO. For example, enterprise Ethernet LANs begin with LAN switches, look at here, for example, or in some cases multiple LAN switches installed in a wiring closet behind the locked door on each floor of a building. Okay, and you know that the electricians should install the Ethernet cables from that wiring closet to cubicles and conference rooms where devices might need to connect to their LAN. Okay, and as you can see here, we have also wireless, okay, or access point or wireless LAN. In today's networks we have wireless LAN and also wired LAN. You know that we are talking about the wired LAN now, but in enterprise LAN in most cases we have also the wireless LAN. This is the another type of LAN, enterprise LAN. Let me to give you one example also in our simulator. For example, assume that we have 3 switches. Each switch is residing in one floor. This is switch of floor 3, this is switch of floor 2, and this is switch of the for example floor 1. This is only one example for better understanding. Look at here, in each floor we have, for example, 2 PC or more than 2 PC. It's not important for me now. 2 PC in the floor 3, after that 2 PC in the floor 2, and finally 2 PC in the floor 1. You know that in each floor we need to connect the PCs to the switch of that floor. For example, in this floor, this is the first connectivity, and all of these cables are the Ethernet cable. You will learn about this Ethernet cable. After that, to this device, then to this device, for example, and then to this PC, and finally to this PC. Now we have 3 separated networks. For connecting these networks together, we are using a switch. We call it switch core or core switch, or in some cases distribution switch. Let me to use here. This is the core switch, and all of the other switches can connect to this core switch. The detail is not important for now, but as you can see now, we have a network that connected to the core switch. After this, the core switch should connect to the edge router for connecting to the internet. Okay, maybe we have some another components such as the firewall or other devices, but here is not important for us. Look at here, we are connecting the core switch to the router. Now we have the connectivity also to the internet. The router should connect to the for example ISP router. This is our LAN. This is our enterprise LAN. In enterprise LAN, we have in most cases many switches, many PCs, many other devices, and also in some part maybe we have some access point. Look at here. Assume that in each floor we have one or more than one access point. You can add any devices that you want. For example, here we can add the access point. Let me to use one AP. Look at here, this is the AP. In each floor, in most cases, we have one AP. Let me to use one AP here. This is only for example. And you know that this AP should connect to the switch. And after that, now if we have one tablet or one other devices, it can connect to the for example this wireless access point. This means that in each floor we have wired LAN and also wireless LAN, and finally we have one enterprise LAN. And you know that in enterprise LAN, in most cases we don't use the for example devices that combining multiple device into one device. Why? Because this is the enterprise, and our products are the industrial products, and maybe they have the more power, the more throughput. Okay, because of that we don't use the SOHO devices in our enterprises in most cases. Okay, until now we learned about the 2 type of LAN, enterprise LAN and also SOHO LAN. Now we can talk about the Ethernet, but let me to review the things until we learned until now about the one for example network. You know that we have 2 type of networks, then LAN and WAN, and you know that in LAN now we are talking about the Ethernet. Okay, and also we know that in today's we have the we can use the Ethernet